Okay, for number one, again, my impression here is that you're going to read the question, work on the question on a piece of paper and pencil, arrive at an answer, and then use this blue area to check it. All right. So then you say, do I really need to watch the videos? Watch the videos if you need to. But otherwise, if you're doing fine with the working on a piece of paper, getting an answer, and looking at the answer key, and you're good with that, that's fine by me. I'm going to go to the whiteboard, though. I'm going to do this question as if it were an exam question. All right, so I'm going to go to the whiteboard. And this is question number one. And number one says, find the area of the region between y equals the sine of x and y equals cosine of x. And they go on to say that the x's between, or on the interval, pi over 4 to pi over 2. All right. The first thing I do is I just do a really rough sketch of this. All right. So the sine function, is going to look sort of like this over here. And the cosine function is going to look sort of like this over here. So someone says, could you, let me just continue. Again, I'm not the best picture in the world. What I'm going to do over here, though, is just talk about this region that they're talking about. And again, the region starts at pi over 4 and stops at pi over 2. All right, so this is the region over here. Let me shade that in. It gets a rough picture. I'm not saying it's the best picture in the world, but they didn't ask you to draw the picture. Someone says, well, what's your picture then? So I could visualize a rectangle. Differential dx. I like to do this first. My dx determines that I'm moving along the x-axis from pi over 4, pi over 2. And this is going to be the area between those two curves. What are you going to do now? The height of it, what's above it is actually the sine function minus the cosine functions below it. All right? So I'm going to say this is the first thing. Like if I were a grader, this would be the first thing I'm looking for. What's the next thing I look for? Are you able to write down the antiderivative? And so let me do that. That's going to be minus cosine of x minus sine of x. The limits of integration here are going to be from pi over 4 to pi over 2. Again, if I were studying, I would not be looking at the answer key. I'd be just plowing through this over here. If I got stuck, I'd look at the answer key, though. Let's put this down. So it's going to be minus the cosine of pi over 2 minus the sine of pi over 2. Let's see, now I get to do minus the lower limit, right? So minus the cosine pi over 4 and minus the sine of pi over 4. Relatively simple numbers to choose. And the cosine of pi over 2 is going to be 0, and minus 0 is just a 0. Minus, the sine of pi over 2 is 1, so that's minus 1. Minus, well, let's see, the cosine of pi over 4 is going to be 1 over root 2. So this is minus 1 over root 2. And the sine of pi over 4 is also 1 over root 2. Let's keep moving around. What do we get over here? Minus 1. And it's going to be plus 2 over root 2. I'm going to simplify this a tiny little bit by rationalizing the second term. And that's going to be 2 root 2 over 2, which is going to give me root 2 minus 1 as my final answer. All right, again, I can't say this enough times. This is your paper and pencil work. All right, it's going to look like every single time. You're going to have something like this written down. Maybe you're going to do a little picture like this. Certainly putting work down and someone can grade it. And then getting an answer, putting a box on it. What you need to do, though, is to look at the answer key and make sure that your work looks sort of like my work, that there's some detail there that other people can read, and there's a final answer. Thank you.